You know, there's a specific sound a human body makes when it hits the concrete floor of a cell block. It's not a thud and it's not a crack. It's something in between a wet, heavy slap that echoes off the steel bars and settles right into the pit of your stomach. I heard that sound on my first day at Blackstone Penitentiary, and it was the sound of my own face meeting the floor. It was 10 a.m., yard time. The Nevada sun was already baking the asphalt until the air shimmered like oil. I had just walked through the gates, carrying nothing but a mesh bag of toiletries and a 15-year sentence for a murder I didn't commit. My name is Marcus the Ghost Holloway. I'm 55 years old. My hair is the color of wood ash, and I stand about 5'8" on a good day. To the sharks swimming in that concrete ocean, I looked like lunch, and the biggest shark of them all was Culligan Vance. You didn't need to be told who Vance was. You felt him. He took up space like a thunderstorm. 6'4", 300 pounds of steroid-fed muscle, with a spiderweb tattoo climbing up his neck and a swastika burned into his left pectoral. He ran the Aryan Brotherhood inside Blackstone, which meant, effectively, he ran Blackstone. The guards on the payroll looked the other way. The guards who weren't on the payroll looked at their shoes, because they wanted to make it home for dinner. I had barely taken 3 steps onto the yard when Vance's boots swept my legs. It was a cheap shot, lazy, but effective. I went down hard. My lips split instantly, the taste of copper filling my mouth. Look at this, Vance sneered, his voice like gravel in a blender. Another roach crawling into my kitchen. 200 men in that yard went silent. You could hear the wind rattling the chain link fence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. They were waiting to see if the new old guy was going to die right there or just wish he had. Vance loomed over me, blocking out the sun. This is a white man's yard, boy. You understand that? You breathe my air, you pay the tax. He kicked me in the ribs hard enough to bruise, not hard enough to break. He wanted a show, not a corpse. Now crawl. Crawl back to your cell block like the bug you are. In that moment, I had a choice. I could have ended it. I could have reached up, collapsed his trachea, and watched the life fade from his eyes before his body hit the ground. It would have taken me less than 2 seconds, but I thought about Jamal. My son. My beautiful, foolish, loyal son. Jamal was 24, with a wife, a baby girl on the way, and a scholarship to law school. He had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, defending his family from a break-in that went sideways. The intruder died. The system saw a young black man and a dead body, and they were ready to throw away the key. So I stepped in. I walked into the precinct. I gave them a confession that matched the forensics, and I took the fall. I did it so Jamal could walk free. If I fought Vance now, if I showed them what I really was, I'd be put in solitary, maybe transferred, maybe killed. And I couldn't protect Jamal from inside a pine box. So I swallowed the blood in my mouth. I lowered my head, and I crawled. Good boy, Vance laughed, the sound echoing off the walls. Know your place. I made it to my cell, wiped the blood off my face with a rough towel, and sat on the bunk. My cellmate, an old-timer named Pops, who was in for fraud, just shook his head. You shouldn't have let him do that, newbie. Now he owns you. Once Vance marks you, you're his pet. I'm just doing my time, Pops, I said quietly, staring at the blank concrete wall. I'm nobody, but I wasn't nobody. For 30 years, before the gray hair and the quiet life, I was a grandmaster of Wing Chun and Jeet Kune Do. I fought in underground Kumites in Hong Kong, trained special forces in Manila. I retired because violence eats your soul if you let it, and I wanted to be a father. But muscle memory doesn't forget. The tiger was sleeping, but the cage door was unlocked. For 3 weeks, I was invisible. I kept my head down, did my laundry detail, ate my flavorless slop, and watched. I watched Vance and his lieutenants terrorize the yard. They controlled the phones, the drugs, the food. If you wanted an extra blanket in winter, you paid Vance. If you wanted to keep your teeth, you paid Vance. Then came the day everything changed. It started with a kid named Leo. Leo was 19, skinny as a rail, in for Grand Theft Auto, a stupid joyride that turned into a felony. He reminded me of Jamal. He had that same terrified look in his eyes, trying to act tough but shaking when he thought no one was looking. It was lunch hour. The chow hall was a pressure cooker of noise and humidity. Leo was walking past Vance's table, balancing a tray of lukewarm meatloaf. Vance stretched out a leg casual, bored. Leo tripped. The tray went flying, splattering mashed potatoes and gravy all over Vance's pristine prison whites. The chow hall went dead silent again. It was the silence of a funeral. Vance stood up, clanged. Vance hit the table hard, confused. He spun around, eyes wild. You lucky little. He swung again, a left hook this time. I ducked under it a simple bob and weave and tapped him lightly on the solar plexus. Just a tap. A warning, Vance gasped, stepping back, clutching his chest. The chow hall was murmuring now. The crawler wasn't crawling. You're dead, Vance hissed, trying to regain his breath. You're dead. Stop, I said, keeping my voice low. Don't do this, Vance. You're fighting anger, not me. I'm gonna kill you. He lunged, trying to tackle me. I sidestepped, hooked his ankle with my foot, and watched him crash face first onto the floor, the same spot where he had tried to make Leo eat. I stood over him, not with arrogance, but with pity. Leave the boy alone. Vance scrambled to his feet, humiliated. His face was purple, veins bulging in his neck. His gang, the Aryan Knights, were standing up now, shanks appearing from waistbands, knuckles cracking. It was about to turn into a riot. Enough. The shout came from the tower. The guards were finally paying attention now that their hierarchy was threatened. Lock down. Everyone down. Vance backed away, his chest heaving, pointing a shaking finger at me. You think this is over? This ain't over. 3 days, Friday, in the yard. Just you and me. No guards, no rules. I'm going to peel the skin off your face, Friday. I nodded. If that's what you need, you better write your will, old man, Vance spat, then turned and marched his crew out. That night, the betting pool started. The odds were 50-1 against me. Everyone loved an underdog story, but nobody put money on the old guy against a 300-pound killer. Leo came to my cell during the brief recreation period the next day. He looked like he was about to vomit. Why did you do that? He whispered through the bars. He's going to kill you, Marcus. He's killed 3 guys in here. The guards covered up. He won't kill me, I said, doing push-ups on my knuckles. And he won't touch you again. You don't understand, Leo pleaded. You're old. No offense. But Vance is a monster. I stopped mid-push-up and looked up at the kid. Leo, there are 2 kinds of monsters in this world. The ones who roar to scare you, and the ones who sit quietly in the dark waiting for you to make a mistake. Vance is the first kind. And what are you? Leo asked. I stood up, wiping the sweat from my forehead. I'm the consequence. For the next 2 days, the tension in Blackstone was electric. You could taste the violence in the air. Vance spent his yard time putting on a show, punching the heavy bag until the chains rattled, screaming threats, sharpening a piece of metal on the concrete bleachers. He wanted me to be afraid. He wanted to win the fight before it even started. I spent my time meditating. I sat in the corner of my cell, eyes closed, breathing in the stale prison air and breathing out the fear. I visualized the fight. I saw every punch Vance would throw. I saw his anger. I saw his sloppy footwork. I saw his defeat. Friday came. The sun was hotter than hell, bleaching the color out of the world. The guards orchestrated it, of course. They cleared the center of the yard, creating a gladiatorial ring. They bet money on it, too. I saw C.O. Miller handing a wad of cash to another guard, laughing as he pointed at me. Vance was already there, stripped to the waist, his tattoos glistening with sweat. He looked like a titan carved out of granite. I walked into the circle wearing my gray jumpsuit, sleeves rolled up, looking like a grandfather who got lost on the way to the library. Last chance to beg. Vance grunted, cracking his neck. Get on your knees, kiss my boot, and I might make it quick. I looked at him, really looked at him. I didn't see a gang leader. I saw a scared boy hiding behind a wall of muscle and hate. I don't want to hurt you, Vance. I said, walk away. End the gang. Stop the bullying. We can walk away. The yard erupted in laughter. Did you hear that? Vance shouted to the crowd. He doesn't want to hurt me. He turned back to me, his eyes dead and cold. I'm going to enjoy this, he charged. The air in the yard shifted instantly. sucking the oxygen out of the space as Vance barreled toward me. He moved surprisingly fast for a man of his size, a freight train of muscle and malice. He wasn't throwing a punch. He was throwing his entire body weight, arms wide, looking to grab me, slam me to the ground, and pound me into paste. It was the strategy of a man who had never met anything he couldn't crush. I didn't retreat. Retreat signals fear. Instead, I exhaled, sinking my weight, rooting myself to the cracked asphalt. When he was 2 feet away, I moved. Not away, but in. I stepped into his guard, entering the eye of the storm. As his massive arms clamped down to bear hug me, I drove my elbows up and out, a movement we call Bong Sao in Wing Chun, jamming his biceps and creating a wedge. His momentum crashed into my structure, not my body. The shock on his face was immediate. He was hugging a steel frame. Before he could reset, I transitioned. I trapped his right arm with my left hand, pulling him slightly off balance, and delivered a short, sharp palm strike to his chin. Pop. It wasn't a knockout blow. It wasn't meant to be. It was a disruption. Vance's head snapped back, his eyes watering. He stumbled, roaring in frustration, and swung a wild haymaker. This is where the difference between brawling and martial arts becomes a chasm. Vance fought with anger. I fought with physics. I slipped the punch, the wind of it cooling the sweat on my cheek, and I slapped his ear with a cupped hand. The air pressure disrupted his equilibrium. He staggered sideways, looking like a drunk man on a ship deck. "Stand still," he screamed, swinging blindly now. "I am standing still," I said calmly, dodging a kick that would have shattered my ribs. "You just can't find me." The crowd was losing its mind. The jeers had turned to gasps. They weren't watching a fight anymore. They were watching a matador dismantle a bull. But I knew this had to end. I couldn't dance forever. I was 55. My cardio wasn't what it used to be, and one lucky hit from Vance would end my life. I had to break his spirit, not just his body. Vance regained his footing, his face a mask of blood and confusion. He pulled something from his waistband, a shank, a 6-inch piece of sharpened rebar wrapped in electrical tape. No rules. He grinned, blood staining his teeth. The guards in the tower didn't fire a warning shot. They watched. They wanted to see the blood. "Put it down, Vance," I warned, shifting my stance. "You use that, and I won't be gentle anymore. Come get it, old man." He lunged, thrusting the metal spike toward my gut. Time slowed down. I saw the weapon. I saw the desperation in his eyes. I stepped offline, parrying his wrist with my left hand, guiding the blade away from my body. Simultaneously, I stepped forward, driving my right shoulder into his armpit, hyperextending his arm. There was a sickening crack. Vance screamed, dropping the shank. But I didn't stop. I spun him around, controlling his broken arm, and swept his legs. He hit the ground hard, face up. I dropped my knee onto his chest, right on the sternum, pinning him to the concrete. I raised my fist, poised to deliver a strike to his throat that would crush his windpipe. Vance squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for the end. The yard was silent. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. I held the punch. My fist hovered an inch from his Adam's apple. I looked at the Aryan Knights standing by the fence. I looked at Leo, whose mouth was hanging open. I looked at the guards. Then I opened my hand. I placed my palm gently on Vance's heaving chest. "It's over," I said softly. "You don't have to be this." Vance opened his eyes. He looked at my hand, then at my face. He saw no hate. He saw no fear. He saw a father looking at a wayward son. "Do it," he rasped, tears of pain and humiliation mixing with the dirt on his face. "Finish it." "No," I said. I stood up, offering him a hand. He stared at my hand, the hand that could have killed him. He looked at his crew, waiting for a signal. But he realized something in that moment. If I wanted him dead, he would be dead. His power was an illusion. Slowly, shakily, Culligan Vance reached up and took my hand. I pulled him to his feet. He cradled his broken arm, looking at the ground. "The yard is open," I announced, my voice carrying to every corner of the prison. "No more taxes. No more bullying. No more gangs. If you want to fight, you come to me. If you want to learn, you come to me." I turned and walked back to my cell block. Nobody touched me. The Red Sea of inmates parted, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and reverence. That night, my cell door opened. I expected a hit squad. Instead, it was C.O. Hernandez, the tough-as-nails guard who ran the block. She tossed a file on my bunk. "I looked you up, Ghost," she said, leaning against the bars. "Marcus Holloway, Grandmaster, disappeared 15 years ago. Legend says you killed a triad boss with one punch." "Legends talk too much," I said. Not looking up from my book,